It's 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time on a Monday night in Lakeland, Florida. My name is John Morrow. I am a Distinguished Toastmaster and the Sergeant at Arms of Lakeland Toastmasters Club. It is my duty to call this meeting of Lakeland Toastmasters Club to order. Understanding that the International President of Toastmasters is here tonight, I am still taking a great deal of poetic license in sharing with you my mission of a Toastmasters Club. The mission of any Toastmasters Club is to provide a supportive, nurturing, safe, positive, and motivating environment where public speaking skills and communications and leadership skills are taught. And as Dennis Woolridge, one of our past district directors, would say, fostering self-confidence. And when you have self-confidence, my friends, you have professional and personal success. Welcome. Would you stand, please? For those of you that wish to join us, we observe the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. It's here at the front. It is not necessary, but I'm going to place my hand over the heart as a salute, and join me if you would. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And you may be seated. Give yourself a round of applause. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to introduce, for opening remarks and welcome, the President of Lakeland Toastmasters Club 2262. Please put your hands together for Rachel Winnegar.
Welcome, everyone.
Welcome, Rachel.
I'm so excited to be here tonight and to have so many guests. If I'm being honest, my goal for this year was just for every member and every guest to feel comfortable and encouraged and inspired. I already feel that way being here tonight by all of you, seeing all of your faces, and I hope that each one of you leaves here feeling motivated and excited for the next chance that you get to speak in public. On behalf of Lakeland Toastmasters and the Amplify Committee, we are honored to have you all here. And if you would, bear with me, I have a few names that I want to recognize. When I mention your name, if you could, please stand. Honorable Mayor of City of Lakeland, Bill Mutz. Honorable Polk County Commissioner, Dr. Martha Rodriguez. President of the Puerto Rican Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, Anita Rivera. I'm not seeing Dr. Sally Stone, but her and her husband, Mr. Mario Stone, are the co-founders of the Well. If we could give them a round of applause. Toastmasters International President, Distinguished Toastmaster Matt Kinsey. Distinguished Toastmaster Janine Kinsey. International's Region 1 Advisor, past District 84 Director, Distinguished Toastmaster Beth Ramsey. District 84 Director, Distinguished Toastmaster Paula Suma. District 84 Public Relations Manager, past District 84 Director Mike McLean. Already standing, Division E Director Donald Tolson. Division Director Paul Smith. Past District 84 Director, Distinguished Toastmaster, Tim Barnhart. Past District 84 Director, Distinguished Toastmaster, Amy Ann Fisher. Past District 84 Director, Distinguished Toastmaster, Rebecca McLidden. Past District 84 Governor, Distinguished Toastmaster, Ron Harvard. Past District 36 Director, Bonnie Madek. Past District 47 Governor Wanda Brown. Is there anybody that I missed? Is everyone else okay? So as a show of hands, if this is your first time at Toastmasters tonight, could you let us know? So that you can see what a wonderful organization and how much investment people put into this and how much they love this, I want to go ahead and ask if you have been a Toastmaster for 5 years or more, if you could raise your hand. Okay. Keep it up if it's been 10 years or more. Okay. 20 years? Still a lot. So for those of you who have been here and this is your first time, you put your hands down. If this is your first time or you're a new member, you've joined because of different reasons and you've come tonight because of different reasons. So hopefully you see the genuine love for this organization and people have so many takeaways from here. So hopefully you feel all of that tonight. I'm going to go ahead and introduce somebody else up to the lectern, and let's see if you can guess who it is. This member joined in 2010. They have their PhD in organizational psychology. They already know. Okay. Distinguished Toastmaster since 2014. They've completed 3 paths. They are the immediate past Public Relations Manager for District 84. Also, District 84 Pathways Chief Ambassador. If you haven't figured it out by now, I'm going to be bringing up Maria Martinez. She is an extremely valuable member of this club, of this district, of this area, of this division, and every single organization that she's a part of. Tonight wouldn't have been possible without her. She has this drive and this motivation and this passion that I love it, and I say, just tell me what to do. I can't wait for you guys to hear more from her and how she inspires me daily. Maria Martinez.
Thank you, everybody, and thank you for being here. This truly is a dream come true, and I am just honored that they let me do my thing every so often. So thank you for taking the call to action and for accepting the invitation to be into our club this evening. We are just so privileged that you have set time aside to be with us today, as we are honored by having our international president. Last year, as you all know, oh, and by the way, you saw all of those that are Toastmasters for many, many years. We all started like those of you that are here inquiring for the first time. I don't believe in coincidences, so if you're here today, I ask that you think about that and you connect with your sense of why and your purpose. And I promise you that if you give us a chance, we're going to be your biggest advocates and best cheerleaders. So just think about that, and then we'll come back to a couple of announcements later where we are going to officially invite you to join Lakeland Toastmasters. But last year, in the midst of the uncertainty of the pandemic, like most clubs around the world, Lakeland Toastmasters pivoted and joined the online meetings arena. On a quest to create value, we envisioned a virtual open house that would offer members and prospective members a forum to achieve personal and professional growth, to become the best version of themselves, to collaborate with and to learn from others in the same journey as they are. And at that time, Amplify 2021 was born Amplify, which means to expand, to grow, to make larger or greater. At last year's event, which was remote, our then first Vice President, Matt Kinsey, told me when he became president, he will visit our club. And therefore, he's honoring his word and joining us this evening, which I am super honored to introduce him tonight. And you'll hear more from him in just a few minutes. But first, at that same event, we had the mayor of the city of Lakeland, Bill Mutz, who said yes, and he was in attendance. And I have to say, our city officials and our county officials, when we call on them, they say yes. Without hesitation, they say, let's check the calendar. I'm there. And Honorable Bill Mutz addressed us that evening from his car. I'll never forget that. He was in his car on his phone, and he was like, oh, guys, like, you're already a Toastmaster. He captured our audience and shared a message of hope and inspiration, making Amplify a full reality today. Bill Mutz is also here with us. So Mayor Mutz, would you join me up here while I take a minute to introduce you and let everybody know a little bit more about you? That's enough. I mean, I have a paragraph of all the great things that you do, and you are a man of faith, a passion for seeing successful life-changing marriages and parenting. His foundational human relations goal are to strive to honor everybody, and I can attest to that. Then when this goal is accomplished, motivated people can engage in thriving environments where hopes and dreams maximize their potential. So please help me welcome the City of Lakeland Mayor, Bill Mutz.
It's a privilege to be with you and to welcome you to Lakeland if you are from out of the area, and to celebrate the fact that you live in Lakeland if you live here. We are living in such an exciting time, and it's so dynamic, and it's an interesting juxtaposition between opportunities and those things that are limiting to us. And it reminded me, as I was driving here, thinking about standing at a track meet, high school track meet, with the girls' state-winning hurdler for the 100 hurdles next to me, and I'm looking at hurdles thinking, if I had done any track event, this is the last track event I would have ever chosen to do. And she's just getting excited, getting ready to run. And so when I'm looking at these white bars, one after the other lined up in almost in a picturesque way, I said, what do you think about, what do you see when you see this lineup? And she said, the finish line. And I went, ooh, I don't even see the finish line. All I see are white bars in front of me. And it was a really important moment in my life to recognize how what we focus on makes all the difference in what we can accomplish. When I think about life, I think about how life is good, has good, and life has evil. God set up things with order and direction and purpose, and there are influences and forces to undermine those things. And in almost any arena we look at, we can look at opportunities that are in front of us, or we can see the pitfalls and the chuck holes and the traffic and the congestion and too much apartment buildings next to where I live, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Some of that might have been personalized, I apologize. And I hope that when you think about finding your own voice, and when you think about utilizing your skills and your abilities that God has given you, that you don't spend much time comparing yourself to other people. Because comparison is a killer. You're gifted to do everything you were designed to do, properly harnessed, properly focused. And so when I look at my life, and I was a businessman prior to being a mayor, and never had any interest in political involvement as part of my bucket list or game plan, but really considered it only after being solicited by other business people in our community, after they said it to me, and I laughed, but they didn't. And I realized, oh, these people are serious about asking me to run for mayor. You start to recognize our life serious, our serial life experiences are never a waste. Everything adds up together for part and parcel of the experience you need to have packed into your brain, useful for some other time, that you may not think about using it for today. And when you know that, sometimes when we're in the mundane, sometimes when we're doing things that are not so exciting, sometimes when we're involved in long meetings that seem to drag and go for a long time, we can learn many things from those. What not to do is one of the things. What to do and how to utilize something that we gain from that, always panning for some nuggets along the way, makes it possible for us to take what's negative and flip it back upside down to utilize our gifts. And so my encouragement to you and my welcome to our city, if you are from out of town, is to recognize that in this town and in many other towns, if we seek to honor everyone, if we seek to really help people get equipped to do their very best, if we keep our focus on possibilities, we'll always find our best self. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Watts. I do have to talk a little bit with you later because I did receive the key to the city of Lakeland, and last time I tried it didn't work. So we might have to. It's a very special door. Okay, never mind. I do have to stick to the script because those that know me know that I can get excited and then go in other direction. Never. All right. When it comes to inspiration, Dr. Martha Rodriguez Santiago is one of mine. And I get choked up just for all the right reasons this evening. Commissioner and chairman of the Polk County Commission, Dr. Martha Santiago retired as provost for Polk State College Winter Haven campus. And there's a lot of other things besides that, but I'm trying to keep it short. She was elected to the County Commission in November of 2018, and her focus is on economic development, growth and infrastructure, as well as community safety. She serves on various community boards and have received numerous awards, including most recently, and people, we gotta go woo-hoo for these couple of awards, the Lakeland Chamber of Commerce Athena Award. Everybody go woo-hoo! And the Bankers Cup Awards. These are some of the top-notch and most coveted awards here in our communities. And she loves traveling and spending time with her family. Please help me welcome one of my heroes, Dr. Martha Rodriguez Santiago.
Good evening, and it's always a pleasure to be in front of such a beautiful crowd. I didn't know I was going to be exposed to such distinguished Toastmasters. So it's not intimidating because I don't get intimidated easily, but it is definitely, give me a word. What is it? A learning. Thank you. Everything she said about me, I'm just Martha, and let me tell you, way back in the year 1999, I went to Toastmasters. I am a Toastmasters person. So this was how my speech was when I joined Toastmasters. Hello, my name is Martha, and I'm really happy to be here. So you get the picture, right? Okay. Of course, that was a long time ago, and after so many other speeches, you kind of progress and get a little bit better. But it was because of Toastmasters that helped me along the way. Now, I don't know how things are now because it's been a long time, but when I went to Toastmasters, they had a little bell. Do you still have that little bell? Okay. So every time you say, whatever it is, ding, ding. And it was really nice to see from the beginning of the dings, a lot of them. Towards the very end were very few of them. So I owe my ability to stand in front of you to talk to you tonight because of Toastmasters. So those of you that are here today and are just kind of on the fence, do it because you won't regret it. But somebody said something really early about confidence. Who was it that said that?
John.
Who was it that
Martha.
what was it that you said about confidence? The confidence that Toastmasters gives you allows you to stand in front of anybody and everybody and talk and speak. So thank you for giving me the opportunity. I love being here. I'm here to learn, and I appreciate you, Maria, inviting me. Thank you. Have a wonderful evening.
So we're not making any assurances, but when you join Toastmasters, you can become. You know, the county commissioner, the chairman, only female in our county commissioners. I mean, this is big achievements. Thank you both. Toastmasters, as many of you have heard me say before, help me find my voice. Among the many things that I love about Toastmasters, and one of the reasons I continue to serve when they allow me in various roles, is because I love to see the transformation that happens when people feel heard, when people feel validated. At this time, I'd like to introduce to you one of our newest members who not only said yes to joining Lakeland Toastmasters, the Amplify Committee, which is a big deal because she's working with me, but also she's one of our officers. Let me, and help me welcome, bring up to the lectern, Rita Harrison.
Welcome. Fellow Toastmasters and distinguished guests, want to welcome you. I have the honor of introducing our first guest tonight. Not only is she a fellow Toastmaster, but she's my mentor. I don't think she knew what she was getting into when she took on that role, because I'm an extreme introvert. And so for me to be able to stand up here and get into Toastmasters, for those of you that are thinking about joining, let me just put another shameless plug in. If I can do it, you can do it. So I have the honor of introducing our first guest. So Maggie Sobiter-Smith, Advanced Communication Gold, Complete Leader, has been a member of Toastmaster Club 2262 since May of 2003. Founder of Call to Action, she is a professional speaker, creative breakthrough coach, and writer. Her passion is to challenge women to take ownership of their story, let go of indecision, dream big dreams, and move forward, take forward moving action towards God's next best step. Her mission statement, you matter, God said so, do something about it. I love that. Tonight she is speaking from a Visionary Communication Path Level 3 elective, Inspire Your Audience. Coach Maggie invites us to consider, are you a voice or an echo? And again, it gives me great pleasure to introduce Maggie.
Isn't she good? Fellow Toastmasters and distinguished guests. Hola. It's so good to see you all. Can you come back every first and third Monday? This is so cool. So cool. I invite you to consider, are you a voice or an echo? Now, some of you are processing that, and you're going, well, it depends. And maybe you're going to say both. I invite you to really dig in and consider, what does that mean for me personally? What I have noticed with people is that perhaps we're a voice in the areas that really matter to us, and we're echoes in areas where we're not really sure, we haven't been trained, we know we should, but we didn't go there. So what do? We piggyback on someone that we think knows what they're doing, right? And we say, well, if they say that, I'm going to be the echo. I don't have to research that. Well, I'm sure that many of us know elections are coming up. Do we want echoes voting, or do we want the true voice? Now, this is not a political speech, but I thought I'd throw that in. So as I considered the title, and I'm the kind of person that I don't think ahead, I kind of wing it. And so they asked me, what's your title? And I said, are you a voice or an echo? And I thought, now what did I get into? What is this about? And so I think back years ago, a long time ago, maybe 30 years ago, when I crashed and burned. I don't know if any of you have ever done that, and I had to start over. I actually call myself the queen of do-overs because I've done this a few times. But that was the real bad one. I had been an entrepreneur, a big family, church member, leader, so many things, and everything came to a halt. And what I discovered then was, I didn't know who I was. I lost my identity. And so I really, got on my knees. That was my only option, and I started to look up and say, okay, somebody better help me because I don't know what to do. So I got what I call heavenly downloads. For some of you that don't go there, we'll call them tips. 3 tips for how to find your voice and discover who you are. The first one was, be who you say you are. Well, that was a tough one. Who am I is where I was. Who am I? And so I started to take inventory of how I showed up in the various areas of my life. And what I noticed is that I was not always 100% me. I shared parts of me in different settings. And I, for some reason, wasn't willing to bring all of me into the scenario. As I considered all of that, I heard my next download was, know what you believe. Wow. What do I believe about what? And so I had to consider then, what do I believe? And so I had to, questions like, are you a Republican? Are you a Democrat? Are you a Christian? Are you not a Christian? Do you go to this church? Why don't you go to this church? Things like that, what do I believe? Life goes so fast sometimes, especially when you're raising children and you're working and you've got all these responsibilities that sometimes you just don't pause. And so the good news is I wasn't stopped very often to ask, what do you believe? But if I had to answer, I would have been in trouble. So I set out to decide what matters most to me and why. Why? That doesn't mean I know all the answers or that I had the perfect answer. It just meant that I owned my answer. And here's what I don't know who said this, but I say it often. Once you know the truth, you're responsible for it. So once I decided and learned, here's what I believe. Okay, now what am I going to do about it? What am I going to do about this? The last download was, that's just not acceptable. It doesn't rhyme with the other 2, so if there are any marketing people, it doesn't go, it doesn't flow, but God is like that, He doesn't have to flow. So what does that mean? Once you know the truth, you know who you are, you know the truth, when something comes up that you know is not right for you, that's just not acceptable. The word no is a complete sentence. And so I learned to cut away all those things that no longer belonged, that I was able to stand up for the things I knew. And then I had the courage to say, I don't know the answer. It's okay not to know the answer. I don't have to piggyback on anyone and echo whatever they're saying just because I don't know what the answer is. There's power in that. There's confidence, as John talked about, self-confidence. I will share that I am an echo when it comes to football. I did not grow up with sports. If you take me to a game and you cheer, I will cheer with you. If you do the wave thing, I will wave. And just as long as don't let me listen to anybody else because I might be cheering for the wrong team, but that's the deal. But Toastmasters, as communicators, we are encouraged to find our voice. And in the beginning, that might be a little daunting. What does that mean? You keep practicing, you keep showing up, you share your message. It's from the heart, and it's your truth. You don't have to speak like anyone else. We talked about comparison. You don't have to speak like anyone else. You can just be yourself. I love to say, show up as you. Just show up as you. We are leaders and therefore an influence in our community. When we go out these doors, we're spreading the culture that we learned in this organization. And I love that we have so many from so many different places because we're a family. There's a common thread throughout. This is our culture, to encourage, to grow up leaders, and to remind each of us that we matter, our voices matter. So go find out what your voice is, what you personally have to say to the world, and go do it, and go be a positive influence in your community. Here in Lakeland, that's my special place. Let's do it here. God bless you. Thank you.
Smith, also known as Chica. And I will add that at Amplify 2021 event last year where Matt and we had the mayor with us, Jean was our third speaker. And at that point, Jean had 200,000 followers on YouTube. And today I said, you have like 3 million. She's like, no, only 350,000 followers on YouTube. There's Jean, also a member here at Lakeland Toastmasters. But are you a voice or an echo? What a great speech from Maggie Sabatier Smith, one of our beloved members and mentors, always speaking to our hearts. She just gets up here and she does her thing. And I do want to recognize the fact that we all have different levels of expertise. So tonight you might be seeing some of our members with a little bit more expertise and experience, but I want you to know we have everything from those that, like me, come in and leave their fingerprints here on the lectern where their knees are shaking, to the most experienced speakers. And with that, I'm going to introduce our international president. Matt Kinsey, Distinguished Toastmaster of Coral Springs, Florida, is the Managing Director and Chief Security Officer of IT Fusion, LLC, where he oversees operations and security for his IT consulting firm, servicing small and medium-sized businesses in the South Florida area. Matt holds a master's degree in computer information systems from the University of Phoenix. He has a certificate in strategic management and was recognized with the Silver Beaver and Visual Honor Awards for his work with the Boy Scouts of America. As a Boy Scout volunteer for more than 25 years, Matt has held numerous positions within the organization, including Scoutmaster, District Chairman, Event Chairman, and the Council's Camping Chairman. Toastmaster since 2003, Matt Kinsey is a charter member of his home club, Outspoken Toastmasters, has held a number of high-profile leadership positions within Toastmasters, and has attained the Distinguished Toastmaster designation, the highest level of educational achievement within our organization. As an officer of the Toastmasters International Board of Directors, Matt is a working ambassador for the organization. He works with the board to develop, support, and modify the policies and procedures that guide Toastmasters International in fulfilling its mission. His speech tonight is called, Are You a Leader? What qualities do you need to face in order to confront the challenges of today's world? How do you deal with fear, with adversity, with negativity? How do you set goals that are in alignment with your core values and guiding principles? Please help me welcome International President Matt Kinsey in Are You a Leader? Are you a leader? Matt Kinsey.
Are you a leader? I don't know. I don't know most of you. Some of you I know have leadership positions. There are a few I have seen work in leadership positions. So I've got a little bit better feeling of whether you're a leader or not. But what does that mean? You know, if we ask 100 people to define leadership, we get 100 different definitions. And Maria, if we ask 100 psychologists, we probably get 200 different definitions. It's so hard to define, isn't it? Well, I've developed a definition of leadership based on my experience in community, business, and nonprofit leadership for the past 40 years. and I'm not that old. I started in high school in community leadership. So what is leadership? Well, my first leadership lesson came very early in life. Where are the athletes in the room? Okay, we got one athlete. Okay, where are the used to be athletes in the room? Okay, we got a lot more used to be athletes. All right. Well, like most kids growing up, I wanted to be good at sports. And our son, I was terrible. Have you ever met anyone who struck out playing t-ball? Okay, John, all right. So for those of you who don't know, when I went to my area governor training, John and I actually roomed together. I knew we had something else in common. All right. Well, after one baseball game, I went up to my dad. It was just a terrible game. I said, Dad, I want to run home. My dad looked at me and goes, you want to run home? Now, this was the 70s. We lived in a very small community in Indiana. In fact, the community was so small that when my parents moved in, they doubled the number of registered Democrats. 300 people, everybody knew everybody, and I guess my dad decided that somebody would pick me up on the side of the road when I collapsed. So he got in his car, waved, said, yep, go ahead, run home. And he took off, and I started running home. And I got home, I opened the door, I walked in, my dad put some paper down. Who picked you up? Nobody, I ran home. I think we found your sport. So I got into running, and I loved it. I know, Marie, I know you're a runner. You know that feeling, that feeling of exhaustion that feels good. That feeling of just putting it all out there and getting in that runner's high. It's just a great feeling. And I finally had the day of my first cross-country race. Up on the starting line, starter raised her pistol, she fired it off, and I took off. I felt. How many of you remember that television show back in the 70s, The $6 Million Man? And that's when I realized that that's how fast I was actually running. Because all of the boys were passing me. And then, all of the girls. Out of 173 runners that finished the race that day, I finished 173rd. I was defeated, demoralized, borderline depressed. And I walked up to my dad and said, Dad, that's it. Sports is not for me. I quit. I'm done. And he looked at me and said the weirdest thing. I mean, why don't you probably told your kids, quitters never win and winners never quit. Or Renee, you can't quit, you made a commitment. No, he said, well, Matt, you can't quit, your team needs you. What? Dad, I couldn't even see the short little girl who finished in front of me. Nobody cares that I was here today. And no one will care when I don't show up tomorrow. I'm done. So Matt, first of all, that little girl feels a whole lot better today because at least she beat you. Thanks, Dad. But more importantly, when you show up tomorrow, and you will, no one else has an excuse to quit. Your team needs you. As I've gotten older, I've thought about that. And I think what my dad was trying to tell me was something similar to what John Maxwell says. Leadership is influence. The ability we have as an individual to impact the thoughts and actions of those around us. But with all due respect, it's a little bit more. I mean, you can have that ability, but if you don't do anything with it, you're not acting as a leader. So the first part of our definition of leadership is exercising your influence. Exercising your influence. That's the first part. And where do we go from here? Well, history is replete with examples of those who have led in negative ways. Have you ever had a boss who could not find anything you had done right? Oh yeah. Yeah, I've heard some stories, Amy, from our previous conversations about a boss who could find nothing you had done right. Really good at finding everything you've done wrong. Well, what research tells us is what something Toastmasters has known for almost 100 years. That positive and supportive feedback goes far longer in helping people adapt their behavior. Now, the best ratio, with all due respect to our evaluators, who will be speaking later, is not, sandwich 2 to 1. All right, find 2 good things with 1 thing in the middle. Have you ever had a boss who did that? How many remember the 1-minute manager? Okay, catch somebody doing something right. All right, have you ever been in the office of somebody who had just read that book? And they're chewing you out, and they're like, oh my God, and you can see it, like, oh, I gotta find something they did right, and they don't believe what you're telling them, right? All right, so it's more than just finding something right, it's being sincere about it, being positive and supportive. And that's what Toastmasters does. We provide positive and supportive feedback so that you can grow. The best ratio is actually 6 to 1, and some research is now suggesting it may be as high as 7 to 1. Now that's really hard to do in a single evaluation, isn't it? That's really hard to do in a single conversation. So the best feedback, the best positive, supportive feedback is when you look at it overall. And you don't think about this conversation, and am I getting that ratio in this conversation, but am I getting that ratio overall? Which means positive and supportive feedback needs to be done daily with those on your team, regularly, depending on how often your team meets. Give them the positive and supportive feedback, because when you do have to have the crucial conversation with somebody, they already know that you care about them. They already know that you're working for the best interest of them and the mission of whatever the group is. It's providing that empathy, that warmth, and the support. So that's the second half of the second part. We're not there. It's not half. We got a ways to go. All right. So what was the first part? Exercising your influence. Second part, in a positive and supportive way. Now, history is replete with examples of those who have chosen the lead in ways that were not favorable. Right? And no matter where you are, I live in South Florida. Okay? There's one name that equals Hitler in South Florida, and that's Castro. All right? There are individuals who, no matter, there are no redeeming qualities we can find in them. In fact, there was a fascinating picture done. Do we have any World War II veterans here tonight? Right, well, during World War II, there was a fascinating movie done, and at the beginning of the movie, God comes to Satan and says, hey buddy, you're getting kicked out. This Adolf Hitler guy is coming, and he's worse than you are. All right? And so the entire movie, Satan is trying to get Adolf Hitler to do something positive so that he can continue to reign in hell. And right before he dies, Adolf Hitler says he loved his mother, and at the end of it, he's coming into hell, and Satan's like, yeah, but you loved your mother. You're done. All right? It's a fascinating movie. But we've seen these examples, right? Of people who do not lead with values. So Toastmasters has 4 core values: integrity, respect, service, and excellence. I don't have time to go over all of those tonight, but I do want to talk a little bit about integrity. Now what is integrity? How many of you ever heard, integrity is doing the right thing when no one's watching? And there's some truth to that. But to me, that's the elementary school version of integrity. Because integrity, the way I look at it, starts within. So let me give you an example. Just over a year ago, about 20 months ago, here in Florida, we woke on June 21st to pictures of the Champlain Towers in Surfside, a suburb north of Miami. 98 people lost their lives that night. They went to bed. It's a night like any other. Probably made a phone call to their mother, checked in on their kids, took the dog for a walk, and just went to sleep. And then they were awoken to sounds of metal screeching, concrete ripping, and people screaming as they fell to their deaths. And I, like I'm sure many here, because it was all over our news, like, what happened? How did this happen? How did this seemingly strong building fall apart? What the investigation showed was three things. So number one, there was a design flaw. The way the building was designed created a problem. Number two, saltwater intrusion. Water, and specifically salt water. Now, I know Lakeland's not right on the coast, but I know we had some folks over. How many of you live near the coast? All right? You know what that does. That is so corrosive. Salt water in the air is so corrosive to metal and concrete both. And the third one, and probably the most contributing factor, was neglect. The board of directors of the Condo Association knew about the problem. They knew what was required to fix it, and they were unable to lead the group to get the problem fixed. You know, our integrity is like that. We all have things inside of us. Yes, I agree. We have everything that we need to do whatever our purpose is. But we all have habits. We all have things within us that inhibit our success. All right? Are we aware of it? Do we try to work through them, or do we just allow them to continue? We all let in influences. TV, politicians, all due respect. News. The well-meaning person who's giving you advice that's in their best interest and not yours. We all have voices that get inside and mess us up. I mean, let's be honest. You know, our parents tried to mess us up and probably did a pretty good job. All right? Whether they were your natural parents or your foster parents or step-parents, you know, they were authority figures in your life and they messed you up. All right? Then you go to school. Oh, boy, did they mess you up. And then you start getting mass media, you get political discussions, you get hooked into watching, you know, January 6th hearings and hearing all these things. And these are important, but you have to guard who you are and make sure that the voices you're allowing in are the voices that are going to uplift you and not the voices that are going to diminish you. And then when we do mess up, because let's be honest, you know, my religion says there was one perfect being, okay? Yours may say something different. But most of them agree that we ain't it, all right? It's not us, it's something beyond us that has perfection. We're not going to always be in integrity. Now, I put this in the Toast Papers article, and I got some criticism for it, and you know what? I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that because that's the reality. We all fall out of integrity, and we all need to clean it up. And sometimes that's easy. Sometimes it's easy to clean up. Hey, I'm sorry, I forgot to call you yesterday. Okay, no worries. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't get that out. I'm sorry. After a while, I'm sorry, it just falls on deaf ears. All right? And sometimes we can't clean it up easily, but we still have to acknowledge it and do the best we can. So we have to have core values. Now, I'm an amateur cyclist. We were talking a little bit about it with the mayor earlier about cycling. It's a great exercise. You know, I just recently passed 250,000 lifetime miles on a bicycle. All right? And I love bicycles. One of my heroes was a gentleman named Lance Armstrong. What a compelling story. He wins the world championship, and then he's diagnosed with testicular cancer, one of the most terrible forms of cancer for men. He gets treatment, and he comes back, and he remakes himself as a cyclist, and he becomes the second American to win the Tour de France, the most famous bicycle race in the world. And he comes back and he wins it a second time in a row, becoming the first American to win it twice in a row. And then he wins it a third time, and a fourth time. And if he wins it a fifth, he's going to match the all-time greats. And he does that, and then he comes back twice more. 7 Tour de France's in a row. Without a doubt, now considered the greatest cyclist in the history of the sport. But there were these rumors that there wasn't something quite right in the way he was accomplishing these things. And every time they came up, what was his response? Some of you remember, I've been tested more than any person in the history. Now, I know you've done testing. Yeah, how reliable are those tests? They're not really that reliable sometimes, especially if you're intent on getting around them. And finally he comes out, who else do you tell your dirty secrets to but Oprah? And he comes out on an Oprah special, got paid for it, to say, yes, I use enhancing drugs, not just to a small level, but beyond what anybody had ever seen before. Now, part of the problem is not just to use enhancing drugs. We've had other cyclists who've done that, and some of them have regained some of their stature. But he destroyed people who dared to challenge him. The number of lives he destroyed. Values matter more than winning. I had a coach who told me, if you cheated, you didn't really win. Okay? And I'm not one of these, well, if you're not cheating, you're not trying. Okay, I don't believe that. You know? Now I'm not talking about working within the rules of the game. You know, we have any football players here? You know, part of the rules of football, right? You're trying to disguise what you're doing to gain an advantage. That's within the rules of the game. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about deliberately going outside the rules of the game. Whether it's the law, whether it's a compliance standard that you have to meet in your organization, whether it's your marital vows. Those values matter. They matter more than you. So that's the next part of our definition. So what was the first part? Exercising your influence in a positive and supportive way, following a set of values. Is what you're working worth it? I don't know. Perhaps. I guess the way for me it comes down to is what you're doing contributing overall to goodness. However you define goodness. Is what you're doing uplifting people rather than destroying them. And that can happen in any business, that can happen in a relationship, that can happen in any organization. Now, Toastmasters' mission, we heard John's version of it, of the club mission. The Toastmasters' mission is to empower people to become more effective communicators and leaders. That's the overall mission of Toastmasters. Notice it doesn't say anything about clubs, it doesn't say anything about districts, and we have several programs that are for people who are not in clubs and districts. But our main program is a club. And we heard John's version. John's got a good version, so I'm not going to change it. But think about what he said. We're helping people develop their communication leadership skills that in turn foster self-confidence and personal growth. Is that a worthwhile goal? Is that a worthwhile goal? Madam Fisher, is that a worthwhile goal? Yeah, it's a goal we need. We need people to be able to find their voice, as we shared earlier, and to share their story. So that's the fourth part. Is your goal worthwhile? That would be a pretty good definition. Exercising your influence, positive, supportive way, following a set of agreed upon values towards the accomplishment of a worthwhile goal. There's something missing. And it may be, no, it is. It's the most important piece. So several years ago, I was at a conference hosted by the late, great Bob Proctor, the Toronto Tornado in Scottsdale, Arizona. And at lunch, the MC came up and said, ladies and gentlemen, your job over lunch today is to go find a stranger and get them to go to lunch with you and come back and tell us about it. Now, there's 800 people in the room going out on the streets of Scottsdale, Arizona, trying to get a stranger to go to lunch with them. And well, as for me, it was not going well. I walked up to somebody, hey, we go lunch with you. I don't know if they thought I was trying to convert them to my religion, get them to sell Amway, I don't know, ask them out on a date. All right, but it was not working, and I was frustrated. And I saw a bench, and I went over, I sat down on the bench. I'm like, oh my God, I got 800 people in this room, and I'm going to come back and be the only one who failed at this task. Okay, yeah, lack of reality there. That is not acceptable. Now, if you know me, I'm a get-or-done type of guy. You give me a task, I'm going to get it done, usually very quickly, usually to a high degree of quality. This is not going to work. I cannot go back and fail. It's unacceptable. And I heard this voice in my head. That was my mom's voice. And I learned something she used to tell me. What she said is, Matt, in whatever you do, find your purpose. Now that's the opposite of what we normally hear, isn't it? You know, find your purpose and then go out and do. And she goes, no, if you're doing something, find the purpose within it. And I'm like, so, okay, what do I want to do? I don't want to look bad. No, that's not a good purpose. Well, yeah, it is, but no, it's not. Okay. You know what? I want to thank a veteran for his service. Or her service. So what does a veteran look like to me? And I pictured an older gentleman with white hair, a wizened face, a cane, a ball cap. And I thought the word Arizona, but I'm in Scottsdale, Arizona, so yeah, whatever. And I got up. And Teresa, you know how they tell you can't make this stuff up? You know, truth is so much better than fiction. Walked around the corner and he was right in front of me. Almost to a T, the exact gentleman I pictured. White hair, a very wizened face, a ball cap, a cane. I looked closer at the ball cap and it said USS Arizona. And I walked up to him and said, sir, would you please do the honor of going to lunch with me? And he goes, well, why? Well, this is a good start, okay? It's not right. I said, well, I noticed your cap, and I made a decision a few minutes ago that I wanted to thank a veteran for his service, and you're the first person I know as a veteran I found. Would you please go inside and have lunch with me? Up to me as well. My mama told me never turn down a free lunch. So we went inside the restaurant and started talking. The gentleman's name was Bill. And after a while, I finally turned to his cap. I said, Bill, I noticed your cap. Did you know someone on the Arizona? Or did you just visit? He goes, know someone? Hell, boy, I was on the Arizona. Because I will never, ever forget that morning. I was on deck. It was assembly time. And all of a sudden, I heard the sirens go off. And I'm like, oh, here comes another drill. And then I saw everybody pointing. And I looked out. And there's a squadron of planes coming our way. Those aren't our boys. The next 2 hours felt like seconds and days at the same time as torpedoes were dropped in the water. Bullets flew. The stack behind me blew up, and I was thrown into the water. Ship boat finally came and picked me up, and I started to hear the stories. Heard the stories of the banging in the Utah as people were trying to get out. We couldn't get to them. I lost 2,300 of my brothers that day. I'll never forget that day. I almost missed that. Because I didn't understand the assignment. See, the assignment was not to go out and find someone and convince them to go to lunch and come back and tell a story. Those were the steps in the assignment. The assignment was to connect with another human being, if just for a few minutes. Now, Bill impacted me greatly because he was the first and only survivor of the Arizona attack I've ever spoken to. Now, he's passed on since. But what would have happened if I had stayed focused on a task instead of a person? The minute I changed my task into a person, it opened up a whole world for me. Now, we read all about diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging, accessibility. And it's a very emotion-laden conversation. And no matter what you say about it, you're either not going far enough or you're gone too far, it seems. But to me, it's really simple. To me, this whole thing is really simple. It's, do I honor you for who you are and for what you bring into the world? Do I recognize that significance that you have as an individual, that your life story, your life experience has brought you to this point, and do I give you the freedom to express that? Or do I put obstacles in your way? Do I become part of the solution of honoring all people? Or do I become part of a system that has denied some? That's a choice we all have to make. And we all have to struggle with. And I got to tell you, it's a struggle, because I've never felt privilege. I'll be honest with you, I never felt privilege. I didn't grow up with money. But I've come to recognize there are some areas that I do have some privilege. And I just have to recognize that and deal with it. That's part of this solution, because the last part is putting people first. And that means all people. That means recognizing the unique contributions that each person has in your team, and building a team that this is going to sound bad, but it takes advantages of those skills to meet the mission of the team. And it's not taking advantage of you, it's taking advantage of your skills and what they bring to the accomplishment of the team's mission. So I ask you again, are you a leader? Are you exercising your influence in a positive and supportive way? Following an agreed upon set of values? Accomplishing a worthwhile mission? And considering the needs of all people first? If you are, then be the leader your team deserves.
Appreciate your words this evening. The next portion of our meeting is going to be a panel table, and our moderator is making her way over. Her name is Nicole Walker. And before Nicole makes it over here, I want to remind you all that we will have a few items that we are going to raffle at the end of our meeting. So make sure that Andrea over there, our Vice President of Membership, has given you a little ticket. And one more announcement: if you join tonight or rejoin tonight or tomorrow, we will also enter you on a raffle to receive a professional headshot courtesy of G2 Media. So all of those that join tonight or rejoin our club and are interested in going on this journey with us will have an additional entry for the raffle. So I know we're kind of getting closer in time, so I'm going to very quickly introduce Nicole Walker, who actually, for those folks that have been around here a while, needs very little introduction. But Nicole joined Lakeland Toastmasters back in December of 2013 and currently serves as our secretary. Previous club positions include President, Vice President of Education, and she has also served as a mentor to several of our members. She works for Polk County Government and the University of Florida in a program called Extension Service, and she has been with these organizations her entire career. Nicole is working on 2 Toastmasters Pathways educational paths. So those of you that I got to talk to a little earlier, I told you about the paths. I told you how Becky over there is crazy. She did them all already. She beat us all. Even Mike and I had a path, and Becky beat us. all 11. Dynamic leadership, she's on level 3, and strategic relationships, and she's on level 1 in that path. Her personal goal is to continue advancing in her speaking and leadership skills, especially extemporaneous speaking, speech writing, and managing organizational priorities. So for the next portion of our meeting, which is Amplify Lakeland, please help me welcome Nicole Walker.
Thank you, Maria. Thank you, John. Yes, that would be wonderful. Why don't we move those chairs toward the center? All right. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our panelists for tonight. Of course, we have Matt Kinsey that we just heard from, so if you come on up, please. We have our District Director, Paula Suma. Go ahead, have a seat. Hold your applause today, please. All right. All right, and then we have our past District Director, Pim Harper. And we have one of our Lakeland Toastmasters members, David Owsley. Come on up, please. What happened to the lights? No, this is, so you can see that's a good idea, actually, so you all can see the screen there. All right, so you've heard an introduction of our international president, Matt Kinsey. Now I want to introduce Paula Suma to you. She is a distinguished Toastmaster, and she's been a Toastmaster for 18 years. She served in numerous club officer roles and worked her way all the way up to District 84 Director now. And she's developed her skills as a leader for sure in all these roles. She's happily retired after working 31 years at Advent Health. And retirement for her has meant that she has more time to do the things that she enjoys. Her passion is helping others to learn and grow, and as our current district director, Paula brings her energy and enthusiasm to District 84 and to other Toastmasters around the world. She loves sharing her love of Toastmasters and helping others on their Toastmasters journey, which we'll be doing tonight as well, so thank you so much for that, Paula. Next, we have Pim Parpar. Pim is originally from Thailand and has been living in the U.S. since 1974. In 1983, she started working as an entry-level assembler at Rockwell Collins, making $3.60 an hour. Luckily, her supervisor saw potential in her and made her, she says, join the Collins Toastmaster Club. With the communication and leadership skills she learned from Toastmasters, it gave her the confidence to go to college and obtain 3 college degrees and receive a total of 6 promotions during her career. She retired 8 years ago, and she honestly believes in the Toastmasters program and wants to share the joy and success it has brought to her and everyone she meets. She is living proof that Toastmasters is for everyone. And finally, we have David Owsley. David was raised by a single mom, and he learned to lead and serve at an early age. After 18 years with the #1 insurance company in Florida, which remains unnamed, okay, all right, and earning 2 master's degrees, David launched his own leadership development company, David O Leadership. This year, he's interviewing leaders to become YouTube videos and podcasts, hosting Live to Lead Leadership Conference in Lakeland, publishing a children's book, publishing a leadership book, teaching leadership competencies at Florida Southern College, and working on his PhD in organizational leadership at Southeastern University. His company, David O Leadership, focuses on connecting others to their purpose and passion to yield record-breaking results in their personal and professional lives. He is married to his wife, Tara. He has been married to his wife, Tara, for 22 years and has 4 amazing teenagers. Awesome. Give him a hand, please. All right, so our format for the evening is I actually have some questions. Now, this is kind of like table topics. If you haven't experienced table topics before, it is where we ask a question that people may not expect. They haven't seen it before, but they actually have seen these questions. However, in table topics, the speaker can choose to change the question if they want to. So you all have that right tonight as well. Paula, we are going to start with you, please. So as the current district director, this is the third year on your journey, and we call it the trio, right? You're gonna have to help me, you got the director of...
You have the club growth director, you have the program quality director, and then the district director.
Yes, ma'am, all of those things. So as a new Toastmaster, that was a very difficult thing for me to connect with. Like, you got all these designations and all these titles and this whole club, division, just so much, acronyms, lots of different things. Can you give us a quick primer, like a 2-minute primer on the organizational structure? And why should people at the club level even care?
Oh my goodness. The club level is the first level. That's where you learn, and that's where you start your Toastmaster journey. You start out in the club level as a member. Then, all of a sudden, you become a club officer, whether it's a secretary or treasurer, maybe even the president, oh my goodness, the VPE, VP of Education, VP membership. There's tons of opportunities. There's 7 club officer roles right now. You can choose any one of those. And you can do it as many times as you want. You just can't be president 2 years in a row. But it's a great experience. Okay, I think I only have 2 minutes. So I'll talk a little faster. Beyond club level, there's the area. Area level, there's an area director. You would be kind of overseeing about 4 or 5 clubs. Above the area director is the division director. The division oversees about 4 or 5, maybe up to 7 areas. Over the divisions is the district trio. And as I stated earlier, club growth director, then program quality director, then district director. But in between, there's all sorts of chair positions. There's chairs of conferences. There is chair of, I can't even think of them now, education chair, and there is club extension chair, club growth chair. What's that one, Norma? Ambassador chair. There's all sorts of chairs. So maybe 20 or so, just club level, and I don't mean just, because that's where you start. But then you grow, you learn, you move outside of the box, you move outside of your comfort zone, and you meet other people who have done these roles. And they tell you, you would be really good at that. You should try it. And then you say to yourself, no, I could never do that, but no, you can do it. You can do it because Toastmasters builds your confidence. It builds your self-esteem. And some of the things that you thought you never could do, I never imagined myself as district director, let alone a club officer, but lo and behold, I said yes. Don't be afraid to say yes. You say yes, and you're going to learn so much. You're going to meet so many wonderful people, and your world is going to just expand beyond anything you've ever known before. Just look around you. These are people who will become family. People who you may not see every week, every month, or even every year, but when you do see them, you hug them, you hold them, you smile at them, and you talk to them, and you remember the love that is shared in Toastmasters. It's not all about speaking. Leadership roles, yes. Communication, yes. But it's the love of life, and it's the love of people, and it's getting to know more than you ever knew before.
Awesome, very good. Okay, I'm going to take this opportunity to let you all know that there's another meaning to the acronym DTM. Anybody know? And we don't have a timer out here, so yes, awesome. I said 2 minutes. I have no idea how long that was, but that was perfect. That was perfect. All right, David, we're going to move on to you, so pass that microphone on down to David, please. So David, as a professional in leadership development, getting your PhD and all, got your own company, you're a speaker, you're an author, you've achieved many goals that Toastmasters type people are after. Any podcasters out there? Writers? Yeah, YouTubers? Yeah, all right, lots of creatives in the room. So I wanted want you to talk a little bit about your motivation for joining Toastmasters after you've accomplished so many different things already.
Thank you, and I think being a part of this board is very humbling as well. So. Yeah, for me, like Matt in a prior life, I ran, and like Matt, I was not very good at running. So I ran in high school, but in my early 30s, which was 10 years ago, I started running again to get in shape, and I'd get to this end of the 5K, and I was just exhausted. And I would see these ladies who were twice my age, just chatting away and not even glistening, I don't think. And so they apparently been there for a while. And it frustrated me in the beginning, but I realized over time, they were at the finish line well before me because they had put in the work over a longer period of time. And that consistency is what really changed them. And one of the really special things about running, again, in my prior life, was every week you run with someone faster than you and someone slower. So every first and third Monday, I get to the line here, and I get to encourage others. I certainly am challenged, and I get encouragement from others. So my hope is through this consistency, then I can achieve things that maybe I didn't think I could do before, and maybe I can beat those ladies one day. I never did.
That's awesome. Thank you for that. You know, there was a county commissioner, Bob English. Anybody remember Bob? I think he was maybe in his 70s when he served on the commission. Well, he was running all these Lakeland races, and that's when I started running too. And he would always pass me, right? Keep it up, kid, keep it up, he'd say, you know. Anyway, I can relate. All right, Pim, you're next. So Pim, you say that your supervisor at your job at Collins saw your potential and made you join Toastmasters. What do you think it is that supervisor saw in you? Could you share that with us? And also, did you have to be convinced to become a Toastmaster, or once you went, did you just jump right in?
She saw the potential in me that I can really be a good employee for the company. But because of my English, I probably was not going to go anywhere. I was very disciplined. That's my culture from Thailand. So I follow instruction. I show up on time, and I don't talk back. So there's an opportunity for me to grow within the company. It's a big worldwide organized company. And my job is to build something that will go into an airplane. We build avionics equipment for an airplane. So it's very important because people's lives depend on us. And I did a good job, did a good quality job, I don't make mistakes. So she saw the potential and she wanted me to move up the rank and be somebody. Did I join right away? Of course not. If I can't speak English, why would I want to be in an English speaking club? But of course, she explained to me the benefit of improving my English because it's all about communication. You have to be able to present yourself in any situation. And she convinced me that Toastmasters will help me. And I have been a Toastmasters ever since. And I share with you that in the introduction that I started as an entry-level assembler making $3.60 an hour. And I sat on the assembly line for like 5 years and was not going anywhere because of the English barrier. I finally joined Toastmasters and I moved up the rank, not just within the company and also within Toastmaster organization. But I retired 8 years ago as a senior electronic technician specialist, and I owe it all to Toastmasters.
How many Toastmasters do we have in the room that English is your second language? And how many of you would attribute Toastmasters as part of you helping to become more, what's the word? Proficient in English. That's awesome. Wow, that's something we don't always talk about. I love that. All right, President Kinsey, Matt, next. So you certainly talked about this today, about leadership. That's what this is all about. So people are often surprised to learn that Toastmasters is as much about leadership as it is public speaking. Of course, we push the public speaking because people are more afraid of what? More afraid of public speaking than dying, right? That's what they say. Haven't actually seen the real stats on that, but yeah, that's what they say. Repeat it. Are there some other specific strategies that you employed as a Toastmaster, to maximize your leadership growth?
All right, so let's deal with this myth first. All right, people will tell you that they're more afraid of speaking than dying. But if you go up to someone and say, get up and speak or you're going to die, they will get up and speak. 90% of them will get up and speak, okay? So it's the immediacy of it that's more terrifying. So the immediacy of speaking versus the potential of death at some point, it's an immediacy thing. So I just want to clear that up. All right, and that's why don't talk to people. Oh, are you afraid of speaking? Most people are not really actually afraid of speaking. They're afraid of criticism. And if you want to develop your leadership, you've got to get over that. All right, so some of you know that in 2014 I ran for the board of directors for Toastmasters in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, and it was not a successful one. All right, I got about 35% of the vote, and for those of you math majors, that's not a majority. and the person I was running against is from right here in this district, Dennis Woolridge. All right, and Dennis did a fabulous job on the board, and I was very happy for Dennis, even though I was disappointed for myself. And I look at it back now, and I'm like, how the heck, that's not what I want to say, but how the heck did I get 35% of the vote? Okay, because when I look at where I am now versus where I was then, it's alien to me, and Wanda remembers how I was then, okay, as an area director, and she can probably attest to the growth she's seen. And I think so. All right, but you've got to be open. So when I was exploring my next run, because I decided I was going to run again, I went up to past international president Jana Barnhill, and I asked a question that, I thought I wanted the answer to, all right, until she gave it to me. And it's like, what do you see in me that's inhibiting my growth that you don't think I'm aware of? And she told me that. And I was like, my instant reaction, as I'm sure many people's instant reaction when they're shown one of their blind spots, I went, that's not me. No, what are you talking about? And I had to process it and think about that and realize why was I coming off that way. And then I had another conversation with past international president Pat Johnson, and I was like, so Pat, do you have any advice for me? And she started off like Pat told me, and she goes, man, in my experience, too many people are in their head and not in their heart very much. I'm like, and I'm writing notes, I'm like, okay. She goes, Matt, put the pencil down. She goes, you need to get out of your head, and you need to connect with your heart. Okay. Now when I tell that story in front of Pat, she gets upset. I just got to put this disclaimer. She goes, I wasn't that harsh on you, and I told her it makes a better story. Just go with it. So you have to be open to feedback. You also have to get over the need to be right. Now I grew up in a house that academic performance was the most significant thing. It was more than music, more than sports, anything. Could care less about anything else, but my academics had to do well. So I relied on my head, because that's where I got praise and recognition. Oh, I'm not scarred by it. It's just the house I grew up in. And so I had to get over this need to be right. Okay? Because I had a deep-seated need to be right. And what made it worse is I usually was. But not always. Okay? Not always. But I usually was. So that made it worse because it reinforced that behavior and the way people were perceiving me. because I was usually right and I had a need to be right, so therefore I was right whether I was right or not. Okay? And so I had to get over that. And so those are the two biggest things. Get over your need to be right, because you're not always going to be right. Okay? And the second thing is be open to having people identify your blind spots. All right? Because they're blind spots. You can't see them. There is no way for you to see them. Somebody else has to point them out. And you have to be open to that conversation.
Very good, thank you. All right, so I was just going to make up a rule, can I have that gavel right over there? All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to do a couple more questions real quick, or super quick, okay, and 30 seconds, okay, when I think I've counted 30 seconds, I'm just going to do this. It's going to be like a commission meeting, Dr. Santiago. 3 minutes is up, this is 30 seconds. All right, so, okay, so Paula, okay, this is hard for 30 seconds. I enjoy John Maxwell's podcast, and he recently was talking about how we have a leadership deficit. Do you agree? And what do we do to fix it? 30 seconds.
I don't think we have a leadership deficit because I think we have lots and lots and lots of leaders. We just have leadership that's unrecognized right now. And you need to look at your own potential, and we have lots of leaders. They just don't realize it yet.
Love it. Very good. Okay. All right, David, since you have a fresh perspective on Toastmasters as a new member, what is Toastmasters' greatest asset, and what is Toastmasters organization's greatest untapped opportunity? 30 seconds.
Thank you. The people are for sure the greatest asset. The caring environment, they want you to be excellent, and they're not afraid to be integrous enough to tell you that. So for sure the people, and then what's the weakest area? Even tonight, which we normally don't have quite 50 to 100 people here normally, but why isn't this every week? Why aren't there more people involved in Toastmasters at every club? There's so much support here. So how do we get that message out? How do we let people know we're not making toast? We're making leaders. We're helping people. And how do we make that change?
All right, excellent. All right, Pam, you were district director 2 years ago, and your husband was district director back in 2009-2010. To what extent have you two taken your Toastmasters journey together, and is there advantage to having a partner also involved in Toastmasters?
Definitely. I don't like to drive. So a lot of time when we had to go to places together, he will drive. Also, you don't have to leave your spouse at home when you go out and do your Toastmaster thing, because your spouse is also a Toastmasters. And we also joined 2 clubs that meet at the restaurant. So he get to buy me dinner during the meeting. So we had fun together being a Toastmaster together.
Final word, Matt. What do we most have to look forward to as Toastmasters within the next year or so?
So one is we're seeing face-to-face meetings come back in large numbers. I think that's going to be good for the organization. We were built on face-to-face. I completely appreciate hybrid and online, and they have a very important place in Toastmasters. But we're still fundamentally a face-to-face organization. But the second thing is, late this year or early next year, you're going to receive a new benefit for your Toastmasters membership. And that is artificial intelligence evaluations to supplement your speech evaluations through a program called Udly. And all Toastmasters will get the basic version for free, well, included in your membership. All right, all Toastmasters will get that. It's going to launch late 4th quarter, early 1st quarter next year, and it's one of the most exciting things in Toastmasters.
Thank you all so much. Please give our panel a hand. I'll return control of the meeting
Thank you. Excellent job. Let's give another round of applause for Nicole Walker. I wish we had more time, and we're running out of time, and we thank you for hanging in there with us. Just a couple of announcements very quickly, as well as the raffles, and then we'll wrap up.
Oh, winners first? Okay, winners. Well, announcement. Okay, here's the announcement. Next meeting, November 7th, we're having our club contest. Yes, it's exciting. It's exciting. So if you would like to come back and see what that looks like, not only do we have our weekly meetings, we have contests, and you will experience what that looks like. Okay. All right, let's get on with the drawings.
Get your numbers.
I told everyone we're punctual, so we're going to stick to that.
We're going to stick with it.
Thank you. Okay, so first thing, will you hold up the bracelet? This is found by the bathroom. Does anyone know who this is? Okay, we were going to raffle it off. Luckily for you. Okay, so first thing, would you draw for us? I don't have enough hands. Okay, so first winner. All right, we have 281512.
281512? 2815. Well, this is for a book. This is Speedy, and it is written. Oh, we got it. Okay, well, I'll explain. So this book was written by somebody in our Plant City Club. So I'm not going to give him this book because I'm sure he has it. Yeah, I'm giving you a gift card. We had an email that went out to all of the local clubs. The club that had the most members in attendance also won a gift card. So if you could take this back to your president, it is another Cracker Barrel gift card. So for this next drawing, it is for the book written by one of the Plant City members. It cannot be a Plant City member. Andrew.
Okay, will you draw? Yeah. 28.
Got it.
15.
Still in.
281505.
0, 4.
Oh, that's right.
Let's give person to win.
05.
What's that, Mills?
281505. Gonna do it. Give her redrawing. Redrawing. 281519.
Okay, there we go. All right, and last but not least, okay, and we also talked about a drawing for a headshot. That is for anybody who does rejoin or join this club. So that will be separate whenever we get all the paperwork filled out and we're drawing for that.
Who's joining?
Who's joining? Okay, yes.
Yes, so I have more of the applications and I have folders that describe the club better, so we got that. And then, okay, so we have one more.
For the Starbucks
One
gift
good.
card. Go ahead, Brandon.
Starbucks gift card.
Goes to 281501. 281501.
Yeah, so call to action, that is my official job as Vice President of Membership. So I would like you guys all to join if you're not already a member, and really would love to have you. And so, yeah, thank you so much for coming, you guys.
How long have you been a member?
Just since March, and they already have me in the leadership role, so that was a little quick, but I got it.
You're a seasoned member. Since March, and she's already a club officer, so we're really proud of Andrea, as well as all of our officers. Where is Robert, our treasurer? Do we have any other officers here this evening? Of course, John, our producer this evening, as well as our Sergeant of Arms, Rita, part of the Amplify Committee, and new member and Vice President of Public Relations. We're going to wrap up because we are a couple of minutes late, which we typically end on time. I would want to say that. But I want to invite you to consider finding a club that is near you. If we're not the one that is closest to you, consider joining a club. This is what you get. This is the energy, the encouragement, the passion that you get when you join any Toastmaster club. And I personally want to thank you for coming this evening. Some of you traveled quite a while to us here this evening. Thank you to our international president, Matt Kinsey. Thank you to Dr. Marta Rodriguez Santiago. Thank you to all of you. And remember, there's a quote, I'm not sure the author, but it says, surround yourself with the doers, the dreamers, the believers, and the thinkers. But most importantly, surround yourself by those that see something special in you, even when you don't. I want to tell you that that's your Toastmaster family. So join tonight, and thanks again for being with us this evening. Take some cheese or cookies to go because we don't want to have to take that home. And again, we're here again on November the 7th, every first and third Monday of the month. Thank you to John, he donated some of the gifts. Thank you to Mario Stone and Dr. Sally Stone, the host, our hostess here at the wall, the place for them to create and set up right here in downtown Lakeland. Thank you to the City of Lakeland, to our county commissioners, and to all of you for making this evening a special one. Thanks again, everybody. Boom. We do have some certificate of appreciations, but we're running out of time, so we'll pass those after the meeting has concluded. Thank you again so much. Have a great evening, everybody.